Liz Truss has come up with a great idea of creating a free speech, uncensored social media network. Liz Truss is preparing to launch her own social media platform championing free speech, as she warns the deep state and mainstream media was stifling freedom of expression in Britain. The former Prime Minister said the platform would launch this summer. It is her latest attempt to become a leading figure on the radical right in Britain, openly declaring her support for Donald Trump and Elon Musk's mission to slash state spending in the US. Now, why is she creating a new social media network when Twitter under Musk exists? I mean, surely this platform is perfect for her, a platform that bolsters right-wing accounts while stifling the left. Unless she's in favour of a platform that allows you to say the words cisgender without your post being deleted. I doubt that. Now, this is what she had to say at a recent Bitcoin conference.
The West will be finished in 10 years. And what do I mean by that? I mean, we have been threatened by left-wing ideology, whether it's excessive government spending, whether it's net zero ideology, whether it's things like DEI and ESG, whether it's Islamism. All of these things have conspired to hollow out our countries, to stagnate our growth, but also to present real threats to the way of life in the West. And I am a Trump supporter. I think that Trump getting elected last year was the first domino to be falling in the right direction in terms of saving the West, because otherwise I think that we will see China and radical Islam, two terrible partners, win against the West. That is the threat we face. We're seeing industry decimated. I mean, MPs have just been recalled to Parliament this weekend to renationalise the steel industry because it's uneconomic. So all of those things that, and we were the country that invented steel. We invented the blast furnace, and yet these things are being closed down. So what I am saying is the fundamentals that made our society and our economy great have been jettisoned in order to pursue some very, very dubious ideology. And we've seen it in transgender extremism, we've seen it in the rise of the size of government, we've seen it in things like net zero, and it has got to a stage now where it is damaging our society from within. What I am doing is establishing a new free speech network which will be uncensored and uncancelable, to actually talk about the issues people don't want to talk about.
I mean, that was nearly 2 minutes of verbal diarrhea with all the right-wing buzzwords. She was Prime Minister. Just think about that. She was our Prime Minister. A complete clown. She doesn't believe in anything, by the way. She doesn't believe in anything she's saying. She is just trying to grift and gain prominence in right-wing circles. There she is essentially blaming the fall of the steel industry and our industrial policy on transgender extremism. Kevin, Truss has managed to blame the downfall of this country on everything apart from the 14 years of a Tory government she was very much a part of. What do you make of this anti-woke rant and this new social media network of hers?
Well, I'm very right-wing and I loved it.
It's just same.
It's just buzzword bingo, that wasn't it? Jesus, she hit everything. Like, some of the grotesqueness of it. China and Islam are in bed together, as if the Chinese government haven't been doing the genocide against Uyghur Muslims, for crying out loud. I mean, she's just off her rocker. Also, I think it should be legally specified that when someone describes her as former Prime Minister, the word technically should have to come before it, because she was technically Prime Minister, but not really, when you think about it. We were clearly living in a lettuceocracy, and I, for one, welcome our lettuce overlords. She's a clown. She's just a clown. There's no point taking her seriously. She's just a grifty, silly clown. She's years behind in the culture war as well. The culture war grift of setting up a free speech network was like 5 years ago. You're out of touch, right? We've had Truth Social and Gab and Parler and Let That Sink In, X.com, the Everything app. It's already happened. And of course, it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work because if you make something completely uncensored, it just turns into like Nazism and child porn and pictures of like dead
But
bodies.
it's not even
and
uncensored, though.
feces.
All
It's
it is
ridiculous.
bolstering right wing and then silencing left wing voices. As I mentioned about
Well, that's
Twitter,
what I mean,
you can't
yeah.
say the word cisgender,
It
but you
will-
can have full on Nazi accounts on
It
Twitter.
will always be censored. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as an uncensored anything.
Yeah.
Every right comes with a responsibility. Every freedom comes with a reasonable curtailment because they overlap with other people's freedoms. I don't want to see weird Nazi nonsense. I shouldn't have to see images of abuse on the social medias. You don't have a right to post that, so it gets censored. But apparently that's bad because my freedoms or some nonsense. This is absurd. It's just culture war grift from top to bottom because that's all she has. She doesn't have a political history behind her that she can be proud of. Her time as technically prime minister is not something that anyone would ever want. She had one policy, it failed so badly that she was immediately done away with. That's how bad she was. So she can't point to that as anything. So now she just grifts. I mean, literally, that clip you had of her was from a Bitcoin conference. Honestly, if you ever see me at a Bitcoin conference, just you can jettison me into the sun. Frankly, that's how embarrassing that is.
I'll set you up with that offer.
Yeah, and she's a fan of Donald Trump. Again,
Yeah.
just goes to show you the transphobes do love a cis male rapist, apparently. There you go. Who knew? She's a joke. She's a clown.
I mean, this goes to something a bit deeper, though. She has a book called 10 Years to Save the West. And basically, ever since failing as technically being a prime minister, she has tried to push this narrative, which is what a lot of right-wing and far-right people do, which is that those in power aren't really the powerful. It's this amalgamation of, and what Matt Goodwin talks about, these new elites of trans people, of the radical left-wing mob, whoever they may be, anyone who isn't actually those in power. And she talks about we've lived under left-wing ideology for so long, but by the way, we haven't. What we've had is 45 years of Thatcherism.
Yeah.
The political debate has gone so far to the right that this Labour Party is cutting disability benefits. But yes, we're under this left-wing ideology. And basically, she's pushing this narrative that we need to save the West. And the downfall of the West is nothing to do with austerity, nothing to do with climate change, although, it's West, that's globally. Nothing to do with the fact that we're living in a very unsafe world. Not to do with wars, not to do with fascism, but it's because of government spending, transgender extremism, and whatever buzzword she does.
Yeah.
The problem here, though, is that this to me feels like the death knell, the final embers of neoliberalism, which is like we still cannot, defend people's living standards. They're getting worse. And people are going to look at the economic policies that have led to basically people living shitty lives, and they're going to blame that. But what we need to do is obviously stick it on culture wars. But as people's material conditions get worse, you almost have to up the ante on the culture wars to keep people distracted.
Yeah.
And it's left with basically entire industry. It's not just commentators now, an entire industry that is repurposing the actual elites. Like Donald Trump is literally the elite. Liz Truss, well connected, is the elite. Right? She's not as rich as Trump, whatever, but she's all part of the elite.
She was technically prime minister. Yeah.
Exactly. They've repackaged the actual elites as the revolutionaries, the counter revolutionaries to the so-called establishment left-wing politics. It's been completely flipped on its head.
Yeah. As always, the right wing will do anything but talk about economics. So the entirety of the grift, whenever you hear anyone talk about transgender ideology or Islamism or whatever, DEI, they're just doing that to distract from the fact that economically we've lived in the most right-wing part of the most right-wing element of history, and it's gone extraordinarily badly for the vast majority of people. So rather than allowing that to be the focus of anything, they just dangle the keys in front of your eyes. It's shiny. Look at this thing. That's all they're doing, essentially. They're treating you like a baby. And unfortunately, it works all too well with a great number of people, mainly because they're able to set the narrative, because they own all of the media, because of all the right-wing economics, etc., etc. It feeds into itself. The Donald Trump, like you say, a billionaire, her technically former prime minister, all of these very, very powerful people that have been running things for so long have to distract you from the fact that they have been running it for so long and that your life has gone terribly underneath that system. So they'll start talking about, like she mentioned there, the British Steel has been hollowed out and all the rest of it. That's because of the neoliberal economics that she has supported all of her adult life. That is because of policy she implemented as a government minister and then technically a prime minister. This is the thing, right? But she'll blame Islamism and China and a transgender ideology for the closing down of British Steel. That's madness. What are you talking about? DEI didn't close down British Steel. Conservatism did. Neoliberal economics did. You, Liz Truss, did that.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.